Hey folks, launching here in a few minutes with Matt Elliott on Liberty Reservoir here in Maryland. And spring has sprung, right? Like everything's green, the dogwoods are starting to bloom there.
Yeah.
But we had snow squalls. What is going on, man?
I don't know, it's cold. It's cold, but they're always chewing somewhere.
Yep.
So we're gonna see what we can do.
I think the some of these windblown banks, that'll be sort of a tough approach. You know, boat positioning and everything is going to be interesting. I did throw a jackhammer with a big swim bait on that log pile right in there. Had about a 3.5 pounder come up and sniff it while I'm waiting you to come. Right. And you know, we'll see. I think big baits on windblown points might be a good place to start.
That sounds like a plan.
All right, let's go do it. What do you think these gusts are? 30? 40? I have no idea, it's just blowing. Side of the tree.
So we fished a lot of the main lake, some wind-blown banks, shoreline that was blasted on the wind. We haven't had a bite yet until we came back in this pocket and threw a jig up on the tree, and that fish was definitely shallow on the other side of the tree, and that was our first bite. So we're going to keep trying this pattern out. And that was on a 3/4 ounce jig with a little bit of a beaver trailer. I downsized.
Here it comes. Oh, he's off. All right. I'm just following Matt's lead, throwing the brush jig up shallow, and hopefully you're banging that bristle guard and the brush jig up around, some wood up there. I'm trying to find the tree trunk and just trace it all the way out, hopping over each of the branches. But like Matt's fish, it was shallow, so we'll keep doing this. Hopefully next time I actually land it. All right. Another little guy. Nice belly. Nice chunk. So, just picking out a pork trailer out of this vintage pork. That's all I have left, because I don't want to spend $10 a jar. And this Sahara jig. Still cold out, figured why not. Don't know if you don't try. Give that a shot. Give us that jump. There we go. Good deal.
Well, springtime of year, most of the fish are going to pull up shallow on wood or rock or grass and spawn. Be a lot of fun. Although we're having a little bit of a tough day today, but it's a cold front, and we have caught a few, so we have a little pattern. But what's fun about springtime fishing is you can fish a lot of visual structure, trees, bushes. We don't have any grass up on the surface yet, but you can do a lot of visual target fishing and have a chance of catching a lot of fish, a lot of good fish, whether it's with spinner baits, crankbaits, jigs, what we're throwing today. And once, let's see, you'll have end of May, getting into June, you'll have a real nice post-spawn bite. And then the fish work their way out into deeper water once the thermocline's established, and you'll find them out off deeper points, deeper structure. But everything we're fishing today is in the backs of coves. We've hit a little bit of main lake water, but we haven't had any fish yet. But one good thing about spring fishing is if you have sunshine later in the day, it can make for a better bite. Everything in the water is cold and wants to warm up, so you can get on rock, warming rock or wood or any banks, clay banks that are warming up fast, will warm up faster than others.
So I switched to a lighter jig. I went to black. And sometimes that slower fall makes a difference. I don't know if black makes a difference, but I'm certainly snagging less with the 1/4 ounce jig. And
It's the biggest one so far.
you think so?
Yep.
It's got those funky black marks on them.
Nice and thick.
I'm gonna use off of that point and that log. I'll get him back in. Thank you. It's fat. Ooh. 1/4 ounce jig. So part of what I learned with Matt filming the other day is that he's tying with this crinkle cut skirt, and I looked at him like, I gotta order some of that because it has a really, it increases the surface area, so it has a slower fall. This one's the 1/4 ounce brush jig, and I did the bristle guard with like a split, so it was protected rolling over the brush on either side. And got the Z-Man bat wings. I think it's a 2 3/4 ounce or 2 3/4 inch on the 1/4 ounce jig. So nice fish. Get him back in. Let's take a look at what I liked about that spot. We'll go ahead and move up there and take a look at it. I had a pretty specific, I mean, I was like to the left of that beaver hut along that bank. What I like about it, you can see when we get close, there's a lot of foam gathering on that point. We got wind coming down this bank, and that's going to be moving debris, maybe bait fish, something down this shoreline, and then it opens up into a calm pocket where there's a little bit more stable water temperature. We got 54.7 here, and it's a great looking beaver hut to the right, but that's not what excited me. What excited me was the point, not unlike the last one we got on the point, you know, entering what's probably a spawning cove from the main lake. So Matt, you fished primarily here on Maryland's reservoirs, but you've also done some tidal largemouth fishing.
Right.
Upper Bay, maybe tidal Potomac. What kind of differences do you see between those two styles of fisheries? You know, largemouth and smallmouth in a reservoir, or the tidal largemouth we have here in Maryland?
Well, the fish can be extremely shallow, and that takes a little bit of adjustment. But what's neat about tidal water fish is that they have to eat.
Because they're on that tidal current treadmill.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether it's outgoing, incoming, they're going to feed on somewhere throughout that tide cycle. I guess.
Because I think if we went out on the tidal Potomac right now, or even Upper Bay, and we found some wood and we put a jig on it, it'd be the same pattern right now.
Right. But
here, I kind of feel like things are a little more spread out, or maybe it's just, I don't know. There are definite differences.
Well, as far as springtime fishing,
yeah. Because I'd use the same jig on the tidal Potomac that I'm using right now, and I'd go put it on wood, and I'd hop it over it and let that slow fall come down and wait for it to pull tight and throb a little.
Well, I think we're probably 5-8 degrees away from everything flocking to wood, where
right.
we could come out and fish shallow wood, and there'd be large and small fish all in it.
Right.
Whereas
I think the tidal water fish also, like, that water warms up quicker in the spring, whereas this is so deep in, I mean, we have, right now we're at, was it 54 degrees?
54.
And we've had some upper 52 in the main lake.
Right.
Tidal Potomac now, what is it, the 20th, 21st of May?
22nd.
22nd. We've had, I've seen over 60 degrees.
Okay.
Down at like Piscataway Creek, that area. So.
Well, I think you would see 60 degrees the last couple of days. That it was warm here, but it was snowing this morning.
Right.
So. But we were the only boat to drop in, and we've caught a handful of nice fish. So can't say the fish aren't eating, because everything that has bit our line has definitely wanted these jigs.
Right. Shallow.
Oh, shallow.
There it is.
Pinned.
Yeah. Well, I think the bristle guards, yeah, they keep us from. See, I think they keep the that hook from snagging. But I think the other thing that a bristle guard does is that it pushes against the roof of the mouth when that's, when that hook is in them, and it keeps it from coming loose a little bit. I don't know, but what I do when I make them is I stick the crazy glue in the hole where the bristle guard goes, and there's a little bit of an exothermic reaction. Crazy glue gets hot when it starts to harden up, and I stick that in there, and I split the bristle guard, and I bend it down. It's almost like parting your hair in the middle, right? And I mash it down like that, which splits it into that V. And as it's getting hot, I think it denatures the shape of the bristle guard, so it has that V, that split formation with that hook right in the middle. But yeah, the bristle guard does push up against the roof of the mouth and keeps that hook in there. I think that's just a 3/0, which is, I think, the right size for that 1/4 ounce brush jig. Look at that slow fall rate. Watch this. 1, 2, 3. you know, that half ouncer was falling much quicker.
Too much.
Pretty consistent with most of my fish today, that they've been, yeah, you have a cove like this. This one isn't real big, but it's wood on that corner or that corner. So approaching spawning areas, I guess. Corners. Oh, coming off. Okay. See ya. See ya, fatty fat. Small black jig. Yeah, I always think of black as a color it's good for murky water. This is relatively clear water, and these fish are whacking it pretty good. So I was fishing straight off the back of the boat. Matt was pointing me. He was actually moving with the trolling motor forward a little bit, and I was just at it straight back. Wasn't moving the reel handle. He was just moving forward, inching forward with the trolling motor. Felt it pop up over the log, shuttle, you know, flutter down, and pop, they got it. So slower rate of fall. All right, man, I appreciate you having me out here again.
Absolutely.
Liberty Reservoir is one of the biggest electric-only lakes that, you know, I've surveyed. I've actually kept track of, you know, researched and gotten the acreage of all the different electric-only lakes, and we're over 3,000 acres on this particular one. So you see a good bit of the reservoir. I mean, you can get up pretty high in it with this rig.
Yep.
So we're getting right now we're hitting 7.3. I think we were at about 7.4, 7.5 a second ago, before we got out into the wind, and still have 43%, 42% running at 4,000 watts. So pretty nice setup to explore and see all of it.
Yeah, had a fun time as we always do.
Yep. So jig
Something every time.
Yeah, jig fishing, and I'm looking forward to certainly getting out here with you in the summer and using the heavier jigs and just doing some of that offshore stuff. Cool. See you.
See you.
All right, I'm gonna give you a little bit of bonus tackle crafting footage here. How I make the quarter ounce brush jig. The quarter ounce does really well in a lot of settings. On Liberty, we were doing, we were dropping it off on those corners leading into the, you'd have a shoreline and then you'd have a cove going in, and they were right on those corners on either side. Was a pretty consistent pattern there on Liberty. I've also been out recently and just been tickling the edges of laydowns, on windblown straight banks. I got a 5-pound 9-ounce 21 1/4 inch largemouth up in Pennsylvania recently on the same jig with a larger profile than the bat wings. I use the palmetto bugs, but it's the same jig. Does great on the tidal Potomac, just rubbing it up against laydowns and whatever structure and cover you find, it just comes out real clean. So let me show you how to get the how to tie it. So I've poured this with the Do It Molds brush jig, and it's got that little little cavity there for the bristle guard, but I don't put that in yet until I tie it. And I'm tying it, this is the skirt layers. This one's from Jan's Netcraft, crinkle cut silicone strips. And what the crinkle cut does, what that textured stuff does, is creates more surface area for a slower rate of fall. It actually holds that scent really well. So I'm just I have the the thread and the bobbin, and I'm just wrapping that on there and just to get a quick layer of fabric down there. And I got 2 skirt layers here. I'm going to put one on top, one on bottom. If I can keep it in my hand, I'll just layer that right on top there. And because the bristle guard's not on there yet, the tying goes really easy. I'm just going to kind of swing that around, and that makes for a really quick tie. I'll flip it over to expose, and I'm kind of pulling that around just so it's not all piled in one spot. But I turn the bottom side of it over, do the same thing, just layer that on top. I'm going to give myself a little bit more thread. I pinch that and try not to hit myself in the face with it. And the tying part's almost done. Sometimes I add some round rubber, but I'm just going on doing these fast and doing quantities of these. I don't lose a lot, and it's just nice to have a pile of them because they're inexpensive to make and to be able to hand to a buddy. I gave a couple to my buddy Jake Harshman yesterday. Had him throwing them. Alright, so just the fly head cement, just to seal up that thread. Just dabbing it in there. And that just locks up that thread, so it's those 2 or 3 half hitches that I did don't come undone. Trim that little piece off. The skirt layers, they're sealed at the end, and that just makes them loose, and I'll do that at both sides. So the next part, putting the bristle guard in, is what I think is somewhat unique, which really makes this jig such a great one for just rubbing around in wood and laydowns. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but that hole right there, you can see that I had the pin in there when I powder painted the whole thing, and then you pull the pin out and it's exposed lead. A little bit of Gorilla Glue. And so far this has been pretty standard. I'm just putting just a drop there to kind of fill in that hole. So when this stuff cures, it is exothermic reaction. It produces heat. And some of that heat is gonna slightly denature this fiber guard. I think this is a FG30. And I'm using that heat when I insert this in here to split it apart. Let me jam that in there. Sometimes they don't fit perfectly, but you gotta, yeah, sometimes if they're not fitting real well, I'll rip like 2 or 3 of them off. Make sure they fit good. Theoretically, the 30 should fit right in there, but all right. That's seated down in there. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking about half of these and going right, and half I'm going left. And I'm creating a sort of a V. And in that split, when I pull it down and I mash it, really makes for it, you know, with that heat of the Gorilla Glue or Crazy Glue, Super Glue, whatever you have. I just hold that down. You can see that split there. Hopefully I don't glue myself to it. And it creates that V that protects that hook. And you can put it anywhere. You know, I think in, I don't want to say 2 full days, but, you know, 2 days of fishing, I think I've lost 2. And I've intentionally put them in really snaggy, I mean, skipping them into stuff that I'm like, yeah, when something eats it in there, you know, I'll worry about, you know, once I hook it, you know, how I get it out of there when that happens. But you just, you know, you put it in the snaggiest of brush piles, and, you know, you don't worry about it until you got a fish hooked in there. I did have to yesterday out in Pennsylvania go after one that was just like wrapped around all kinds of stuff. Threw the kayak in there and rooted around in there, grabbed him by the lip, pulled him up. The line was still down around 3 branches. I cut the line, unhooked the fish, and then retied. So, but that's what you get. You get that kind of V shape, and these are a little bit crazy right now. So I'm just gonna take them and look at where that hook point is, and just trim them up. They don't need to be wild all over the place. And it actually stiffens them up a little bit to have it like that. A shorter lever is harder to press, but that's it. That little sucker is gonna go into and come out of wherever I want to put it, and I'm gonna put it in some snaggy, woody, brushy places. That's it.